if you were to start today, what would you go out and buy as far as real estate? And they said, go buy a 4-unit. So that's the first thing I did. I started looking at 4 units in the Dayton area for sale. And I asked them about the deal. Like, hey, like, this has been on the market for 90 plus days. You think there's something wrong here? It's like, obviously, you're going to have issues, right? You're going to run into problems. You're going to run into unexpected, fixes that have to be done right then and there. And this is like one of those that, had happened to come up and bite me that time. But it's all fun though. And at the end of the day, it's like an adrenaline rush to me.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Welcome to the Diverse Network Podcast. Thank you everyone for joining me today. Through the podcast, we help discover and support multicultural leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs.
I want people to move in a way that is going to inspire them to keep moving. Whatever gets that heart rate up, just do it. It'll lead to more things.
My definition of network is this. If you called me and asked me for something, I would do it just because of our relationship. If I called you and asked you for something, you would do it just because of our relationship. It's just sure, I can help you out with that because you asked me.
Learn how they use a mindset of growth to overcome adversity in the midst of change. Welcome to the Diverse Network Podcast. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Through the podcast, we help our listeners discover and support multicultural leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs. Learn how they use a mindset of growth to overcome adversity in the midst of change. Through the podcast, here at the Sycamore at the studio, today I get to welcome Ben Harris, founder and CEO of Harris Smart Homes. Thank you so much, Ben, for joining us today.
How's it going, Jordan?
Doing well. Looking forward to our conversation. Got lots of good gems I know you're going to drop, especially with real estate.
Oh, yeah.
So if you've been enjoying these podcasts, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, follow button to stay updated on our latest podcast episodes. Ben, it's just been a pleasure getting to know you. I know we met through our friend John Bray, so shout out to John. Appreciate the connection. We met at his house at a good get together, and then you're just talking about being an entrepreneur and potentially at that time, I don't think you started, or you're just getting started.
I was just getting started, yeah.
And so anytime someone talks about being an entrepreneur, I just gravitate towards that person and towards that conversation. We just hit it off from there, and we had a couple great conversations over lunch. So I've just really been able to learn a lot from you and been able to understand kind of your journey. But tell our listeners, how did you, go from, growing up here in Ohio to, getting an IT job and now being an entrepreneur?
It really started a couple years ago, and I was trying to decide what I really wanted to do as far as career-wise, investment-wise, and kind of trying to scale it off from there. So I knew originally I needed to get the income to be able to invest in real estate.
No.
So I started looking up careers that could get me there in the fastest way.
Okay.
So IT worked out the best, and that's something I've been good at, is working on computers, and that's kind of where I got started.
Nice. And I know, tell us just a little bit more about who you are and what gave you that foundation to be able to be an entrepreneur, to have the mindset that it takes to overcome those challenges. What gave you that foundation?
Honestly, I would credit my mom and dad. Shout out my mom and dad. They were both blue collar type of workers. My dad, he worked at Honda for 30 years. My mom, she's a plant manager at Dole, which is a vegetable company. They really kind of guided me in a way to, hey, you can always do something on your own. You don't always have to use your 9 to 5 to fund the other things that you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
And that's things that they always wanted to do, but didn't have the opportunity or the knowledge at the time to do. So that's my guidance right there.
I love it. I love it. Shout out to your parents. They're able to, give you the qualities and characteristics that they instilled into who you are as a person to make you, successful in life.
Yeah.
But also you used to play basketball back in the day, right?
Yeah. I played a little hoop and
Not good now, huh? No, playing.
yeah. I had to give that up a little bit. I got to a point with basketball where I'm looking at the odds of like me going, not to crush anybody's dreams or anything, but you got to look at your odds, and I'm like the chances of me going to the NBA or playing some type of professional, at a professional level were like slim to none.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of pivoted and started focusing more on my education, and started becoming having more the entrepreneur mindset.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Through sports, I love it. And it gave you that competitive nature. I'm sure the will to want to win, and as well as to play as a team.
Yeah.
What else do you feel like basketball, taught you and has helped you be an entrepreneur?
I like how you mentioned the team aspect of it. I've been a part of bad teams. I've been a part of good teams.
Yeah.
And there's little things that you pick up on throughout, when you're playing, like communication, for example. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned to pick up on between different people becoming an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other things too, like dedication, time management, all that other kind of stuff that all goes into becoming an entrepreneur.
Right. I love it. So, and I mean, sports is crucial. At least for me, sports played a really big role in my life.
Yeah.
I wish I played more sports, and and instead of just dedicating, when I got to high school, I pretty much dedicated myself to baseball. Mm-hmm. And I love baseball. I love playing baseball. It gave me a good foundation, but like I didn't get into golf. Like I wish I got into golf. Because I'd be killing it now, So golf is crucial. So if you don't know that, work on your golf game now, because it's crucial. It's crucial to be able to be successful, and it gives you time to get executives time and entrepreneurs time, and it's fun. A lot of life, is similar to golf, and so being able to help you understand those aspects, and that's what I love just about sports in general. For those that are in sports, there's a lot of analogies in life that you can use in sports. And so it really helps give athletes a good foundation. What I realized, a lot of entrepreneurs are former athletes as well. And I was like, well, why is that? And I think it's just the will to win, the desire to be successful, the desire to, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes in order to win.
Competitive nature that, a lot of us have to be able to go out there and push not all the time you're going to always win, right? You're going to take some losses to, get a couple wins, but for the most part, that doesn't discourage me or a lot of other entrepreneurs.
Right. So even like if you're not an athletic person or don't really like sports, go and try it. It's good to try something new. For me, coming from that background, I'm trying to get myself more into the art scene. Go into some more art museums and appreciate art, which I love it. As well as go to like exhibits and even going to things like the Columbus Symphony, which they have a great orchestra that they have there. And one thing that I've gone to is that they'll play a movie and then they'll play the score of the movie while the movie's playing. And I just didn't realize like how much the score and the audio and the soundtrack goes into creating emotion and going into the film in and of itself. So for me, I've been able to just appreciate more things like that and doing more things, but it's good for me to get outside of my comfort zone to learn new things. Mm-hmm. So how have you been able to, get outside of your comfort zone to learn new things and help you grow?
The biggest thing that I've done is go to meetups, like real estate investor meetups. And that's kind of what actually got me started in buying my first property. I took some advice from some other entrepreneurs, real estate investors in the local Dayton area, and they just kind of set the foundation or set the tone. I was always wanted to do it, but they talking to them almost like ensured me, like, yeah, I could do this.
Yeah.
Anybody can, right? So that's why it made me like not scared to like just jump in and go do it.
Yeah. I mean, so talk about that process because it's challenging. It's not an easy market. So, describe our listeners kind of what you were able to do in the past year and describe to them what that process was for you to get your first property and now to have it set up where it's automatic.
Yeah. So at the beginning of 2022, I knew I needed to save as much money as possible, pay off all my, credit card debts, all that kind of stuff. But the process primarily was going into the summer. I wanted to start looking at properties, looking at single family, multifamily, seeing just what's out there, and then targeting a certain area. So I bought my property on the western portion of Dayton, Ohio. And throughout there, I just studied, what the market was looking like throughout the year. And a lot of stuff in 2022, pandemic time, was going pretty quick. So the hardest part for me was to compete with cash buyers. And once the August timeframe came around, June, July timeframe, interest rates started to rise.
Yeah.
So that backed off a lot of cash buyers or a lot of investment companies or private investors, really. So it flipped more into a buyer's market. So there was more days on market for a lot of properties. And that's when I found a time to, hey, really sit down with someone who's been holding something or been trying to get rid of something. And that's how I ended up getting my first 4 unit, is negotiating with the buyer and having them pay for a lot of the other stuff like closing costs that the seller ended up paying for. Some things need to be fixed in a property, like replace some of the furnaces. In total, I came out of pocket of like $6,000.
That's it?
Yeah, for
To buy your first property?
buy my first property.
What?
Used an FHA, 3.5% down, and yeah, that's really it.
Wow. I mean, again, $6,000, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, like in my opinion, I would think it'd take at least 10 plus, you know what I mean? To get your first investment property, that's something that, again, not being in the industry, sometimes you overhype the situation and you price yourself out when you have no idea how much it actually costs. So $6,000 and you can get your first property?
$6,000, you get your first.
Wow. And you negotiated. I mean, who taught you negotiation skills? Is that something you kind of just learned on your
I
own?
worked in sales prior to me working in IT.
Okay.
So that's kind of where my negotiating skills came from. And also it's a different type of negotiating from what I've done. I sold cell phones. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of figuring out what the seller wants,
Yep.
what they want to get out of it, what their goals and priorities are.
Yeah.
So if they want to go buy something larger, or they're just trying to offload some properties, they can't afford a mortgage or something like that.
Right.
It's always a good thing to be able to ask, what do you value in this type of deal? What do the sellers really want to get at?
Right. And out of that conversation, what describe us kind of more of those details while you're in negotiating. What were some of the things that the seller valued?
Yeah, so the seller valued, the seller I was working with, he wanted to go buy a 12-unit complex. Through research, I could see what the seller had bought the property for. And once I figured, the numbers out, like, hey, if we could come down to this price, you could go, take 30, 40 grand. And you could go find your, 12 unit that you're looking to go buy. And then once we kind of started talking more and more, he understood where, I was coming from, being a first time, home buyer.
Yeah.
Really trying to get my investment started. And then on the backside for him, this property has been on the market for, 90 plus days, right?
Yeah.
And it's just coming off that, real hot streak where in 2020, 2021, and even up into mid 2022, houses, multifamily buildings, they were going like crazy.
Yeah.
So it really motivated him in a way he had so many people look at the building that it really motivated him that someone was able to actually sit down, negotiate with him,
Right.
and get him to be able to, reach his goal, right?
Yeah. And that's important. That's important to understand. All right. We both value certain things here, right? Obviously you wanted the property, he wanted the cash, so he can go and buy his 12 unit.
Yeah.
But understanding and managing those expectations and knowing what they are and being able to meet them and being able to come together and collaborate and compromise. I mean, those are some things that, we as humans, we kind of overhype and don't really think like, that's just another human being,
Yeah.
And how do we help come together and collaborate and find something that works out, for the both of us. And that's the art of the deal, right?
Yeah. And shout out to my real estate agent, Cindy. She also helped me guide me through the process and taught me some of the negotiating skills as well too. She chimed in a bit and really helped out.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to have good people in your corner. You know what I mean? Like you need to have a quality real estate agent, broker, a mortgage loan officer. Like it takes a lot of people, and that, people that do the inspections. And then this leads me, you need to have great contractors, right?
Yeah.
And so it takes a team of people, to be able to, make this successful. But so once you bought the property, I mean, it wasn't easy from there. I mean, it wasn't ready to be,
It wasn't
lived in.
ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't ready or it wasn't ready to be moved into.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that process and how that was for you and how you overcame some of the challenges that you faced.
Yeah. So this is the ugly part of real estate, right? That no one really wants to talk about or show is the before, and when I first bought it, I was like slap happy in a way, like, oh, I just got my first deal, I'm excited or whatever. But there's other things that you got to consider when you're going into this, like, hey, what's the plumbing look like in this place? Has the bathrooms or kitchens been updated, right? And I knew going in I needed to do some of this stuff, but to some of the extent that I didn't understand. Okay, what all needs to be replaced in this bathroom here? You have to get into the wall. Those are plaster walls here. We got to go through, some drywalling, and there's a lot of other stuff that you kind of really have to consider, and roadblocks, right? To have the right contractors be able to do the right things, right, and manage them on a day-to-day basis, right?
So you just become a really high level project manager,
Yeah.
like kind of by default, but it's not easy,
No,
it's not easy. And I remember you even talking about, I don't know, I know you kind of mentioned it, but with the pipe burst, right? So I don't know if you want to kind of dive into that story, but I just remember, you're talking to me, we're on the phone and you're excited. You're like, Jordan, we're just about to move in. And then something happened. And then, so talk to me more about what that was like, because you're right at the end. You're like 90% done.
Yeah.
And this is just the last thing that kind of gets in your way. Tell us a little bit more about what you were going through when that happened.
Yeah, so pretty much the units were just about move-in ready. And there's a pipe in the basement that goes up to one of the unit 4, I believe. And I knew it needed to be replaced at some point in time, but that point in time came that day. It came real unexpectedly that day, and thank God for shut-off valves.
Yeah. I'm sure it was like raining,
Yeah.
water flowing.
It was raining. But I knew what needed to be done at that point, right? I knew, hey, we got to get this PEX. All the old pipes were galvanized, so we got to rip this out. But the thing was, in that moment, it was stressful, right? Because you got water leaking in all over your floors, and how am I going to cover this? Like, is there any other damage to any other? Because I wasn't at the property at the time. It was something that I walked into, right?
Yeah.
So there's things like that you got to that just happen when you're doing real estate. That's, I mean, it's a part of the business. And that's kind of what some of my mentors like told me to expect going into it. But when it actually happens in real time, that's kind of the scary part to me. It's you gotta drop the ground running.
Bro. And your whole world, like, there's nothing else that's important that day. Like, this is this is a problem I need to solve now, right? And that it's kind of like you watch, HGTV, and like I would have loved next time this happens. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but when it happens, because there's
going to be other stuff that happens.
Right. It's kind of like that oh shoot moment. Like we're about to get this deal done. We're about to have people move on in, and then this happens. This pipe bursts. And now you got to, clean up the mess. You got to fix the pipe, and then it costs money. You're like, and then now it's like, oh, didn't factor all this, didn't have this money budget, so now we're over. But that's real life though.
Yeah.
And it's guaranteed that something like that is going to happen. And so what are you doing to prepare yourself for those moments? And I love how you talked about your mentors, right? Because it sounds like your mentors help prepare you for that moment. So then when it happened, you're ready to go. So tell us a little bit more about, how did you even find your mentors, and what advice did they give you to help prepare for those moments?
Yeah, so I met all them through some of the real estate meetups because they've been doing this for like 10, 15 plus years. And initially the advice they gave me, I asked them, like, if you were to start today, what would you go out and buy as far as real estate? And they said, go buy a 4-unit. So that's the first thing I did. I started looking at 4 units in the Dayton area for sale. And I asked them about the deal. Like, hey, like, this has been on the market for 90 plus days. You think there's something wrong here? It's like, obviously, you're going to have issues, right? You're going to run into problems. You're going to run into unexpected, fixes that have to be done right then and there. And this is like one of those that, had happened to come up and bite me that time. But it's all fun though. And at the end of the day, it's like an adrenaline rush to me.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about entrepreneurs is that, we categorize this as fun. We're kind of crazy. Just like, people going to the gym, they categorize that as fun when you're literally causing, purposefully, breaking your muscles down, right? And you're going to be sore the next day, but you love it. Kind of like you said, it gives you an adrenaline rush. Why is it so fun to you? Why does it give you that adrenaline rush? Like, what is it about entrepreneurship that made you find that purpose?
That's a hard thing to put your finger on right there. And there's like not one thing I could like single out, like one moment or anything.
Yeah.
But there's a pressure almost in a way, right? A feeling that, hey, if I don't get this, like, if I don't get this done today, who's going to do it? And it's all on you, really, right? So that I like being under pressure, right? I like having back against the wall in a way, and I feel like that's when entrepreneurs perform at their best.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And that's where we get that adrenaline rush. But when your back is against the wall, though, you need to have something that is guiding you in the right direction.
Yeah.
That inspires you to get out of that situation and to not quit. And a lot of times we identify that as your why, as your purpose, because your back has been against the wall. And I'm sure there's been doubts. There's definitely been doubts in my life, not only, with all my businesses that I have. Is this the right thing? Cash flow is not coming in. This is not what I expected. And do I keep on going? Do I shut this down? At what point does that come? All these different things. How did you find your why and find your purpose? And how did you use that to help you when your back is against the wall?
I try to live by a motto like be a light, right? And why I'm doing, the real estate and why I'm an entrepreneur, I guess to show other, younger people or, even people that are older than us, you still can achieve something, right? You know, you could always reach your dreams. You could have that financial freedom, you know, the goals that you want. And the biggest reason why I'm doing it, honestly, is the financial freedom portion of it with the real estate. But to turn that financial freedom and then give back to, you know, things that you always wanted to do. So, for example, I would love to like coach at a school or something like that, right? I don't have the time to be able to work a 9 to 5 and then go, you know, be a basketball coach or something like that, or mentor young kids or something. So there's other reasons why I would love to jump down into what am I looking for? Why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm like along that journey still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my why could like change it. It almost like 6 months from now, like my why could change, right?
Yeah.
2 days from now, my why could change.
Right.
But for the most part, I try to be a light in people's life. And I feel like the more time I have to have away from my 9 to 5, I can go out there and try to, you know, be that light.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something like you said. I think your mission changes, like the what you do and the how you do it changes a little bit depending on the season of life that you're in. But I think just that core vision of who you are, core mission of who you are, your core why, like you said, is just to be a light to others. I don't, you know, that's something I don't see, you know, changing. You know what I mean? Like that's like whatever that you do, whether that's through real estate, IT, basketball, sports, family, the fact that you just want to be a light to others and a shine, makes me so excited for your future, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So, and here's the thing. I know you talked about mentors, and that's something that we love talking about here, Diverse Network. We're in the process of building a mentorship program. And so not only that, but also a career development program. And one of the things in my research that I've done with, you know, young professionals, young entrepreneurs, students, and asking them, you know, what is it that you need access to? What resources do you need to be successful in your career and, you know, launching a business, et cetera? And I thought, you know, it'd be job opportunities, internship opportunities, connections. Well, it kind of feeds into the connections, but the number one thing that they come back and tell me is, Jordan, I need a mentor. I want to find a mentor who is in my field, in my industry, working, has that experience, and even someone go another level deeper, someone that looks like me, that's successful, and that I can know and see that someone I can relate to that has similar challenges and upbringing that I have can be successful despite all that, right? And so that's been the number one need. And so for us at Diverse Network, we're like, okay, we have people like yourself, like would make a great mentor and who would like have aspirations of being a mentor and being able to give back to their community and pour into, you know, the next generation. And then we have, you know, those that are looking for mentors. And so for us at Diverse Network, we're creating a program that's just a bridge and connection to each other. So I'm super excited for that. But I think that is hearing from your example, like the mentors in your life, the mentors in my life are the reason why we are where we are today.
And that's kind of like scary to think about, but at the same time, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Cool to like get to this point and, you know, and then you're almost in a way at a point where, hey, pass the torch and, you know, go run it yourself, right?
Yeah.
And kind of bridge the gap between the next, you know, group of entrepreneurs or real estate investors, you know, whatever you really want to do, you know, be that light to them.
Exactly. I love it, man. You know, what's something, an advice that you would give to somebody that was wanting to get into real estate, or even, you know, how do you break entry into that industry and, you know, start becoming a real estate investor? What advice would you give to someone like that?
You know, if you're looking to buy your first property, I would look at using a FHA loan on a multifamily building. Right now, it's 2023. We're more in a buyer's market. So a lot of properties are sitting on the market for, again, like 60, 90 plus days. you could use that to your leverage. And if the seller is really looking to get rid of this property, you could end up in a situation like I was. You only have to bring $6,000 to the table for closing, and then have that seller pay off the remaining fees. So I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could initially get in. You could wholesale, you can flip a house, or you could find a property and bring it to a private investor and be able to jump in that way. But whatever you really want to do, you got to set your mind to it. Write down your goals. If your goal is to have 100 doors, if your goal is to have 3 properties, I think that's the biggest thing, is figure out what you really want to do, figure out your goals, and then just attack them.
I love it. That's great advice, man. I mean, and it's so important to understand how to define your goals and how to create a plan to accomplish those. And the most important thing, like you said, take action.
Yeah.
It's all about action.
Yeah, it's all about the action, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, that's great advice. And I think even, kind of going back a little bit about, your college journey, because I know we didn't really touch about that, but I know that was a crucial point in your life, right? You go to New York to play college basketball, right? And, so tell us a little bit more about your journey, not only in the sports world, but just your first semester academically.
Yeah.
And, what you had to do, what the difference was, your first semester and how you ended up, graduating with an associate's degree.
Yeah. My first semester, I went to school in upstate New York, school called Genesee College. And I initially went there to play basketball. I mean, it was a great school. We had really got a lot of good athletes. A lot of them ended up going Division I to play. But my issue was I never really had to try in high school.
Yeah.
I'm an athlete, they kind of just like pass you through, right? So my first semester in college, I finished with a 1.5 GPA.
Wow.
1.5, yeah. Yeah. So I came back home and I'm like, man, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I started, thinking about, do I just go find a job now?
Yeah.
Is college really for me? Is this, really my thing?
Yeah.
And I just felt a calling to go back, and end up going to a school called Clark State in my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout that time frame, I went there, finished with a 3.7 GPA.
Wow.
3.7 GPA and a degree in cybersecurity and computer networking. And I think when I came back from Genesee, the thing on my mind was, hey, I got to figure something out to be able to, I always wanted to become an entrepreneur, but, I didn't have the money, or I didn't have the resources to, go after that kind of stuff. And I knew if I got a degree in, some form of IT, I could leverage that
right
into becoming, an entrepreneur.
I love it. What was the difference? I mean, because 1.5 to 3.7, that's a big difference. Like, what was that?
I think the biggest thing was I was applying myself. You sit down and I studied, but I didn't really study. I just looked at the book and bumped through the pages or whatever, right? But when like I said, your back's against the wall, right? This is, your resources, your way out. You're willing to, sit down, put some sacrifices in, and just go at it. And then I guess I had to let go of some of my other dreams, right? So the basketball portion of it, I started to realize the more and more I was playing there, that I wasn't as good as what I thought I was. I had a big head. I'm like, man, I'm
big dog.
Yeah, and not too many 5'9" NBA shooting guards out there.
Right.
But it was like a wake up call. Like, hey, try something.
Yeah.
Let's try something different. There's other ways to get to where you want to go in life.
Yeah.
And computer science and cybersecurity, computer networking. That's
right.
That's kind of like my way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's not a lot of people like us, right? multicultural. You come from a Black community. I come from an Asian community that are either one, successful entrepreneurs, but even less than those that are in the IT world, right? And, so you come from a college, an athlete background, right? And I know a lot of our culture right now is the one way that we can be successful and make it out of our neighborhoods that we're in and make it, to the next class or be successful or to have the money or become wealthy is to use it through our bodies through sports, right? And to be an athlete. And we're not taught a lot that we can get out using our mindset, right?
Yeah.
Using our mind and even applying ourselves in. Talk to a little bit more to that person, to that athlete, to your community as what does it mean to be able to be in the position that you're in and to use your mind to get where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, your body's only going to take you so far. Like, you could probably only have to you're 25, 28 for most athletes to where their peak performance is. So you always got to be thinking about your next move, just like in any sport. You're always one move ahead, or try to be one move ahead of your opponent. And that's where I was kind of at in sports, where I knew I wasn't going to be the top dog or whatever. And it's really an ego check that you got to have with yourself. You got to sit down and evaluate where you're at. But if you're going to a school, on a full ride scholarship or some type of partial scholarship, or even if you're just, in high school looking to get a Division I scholarship or go to school to play sports, get a meaningful degree in a field where you can use that as leverage to fund what you really want to do. So that's the advice I would give a lot of kids coming up is, even though you don't want to be in a corporate office or work a 9 to 5 all your life, right?
Yeah.
Use that for the next 5-10 years to be able to enjoy the remaining portion of your life.
I love it. That's great. And it's so crucial. We need more of that. And so as we're wrapping up here, what are some ways people can get connected to you? Tell us a little bit more about who Harris Smart Homes is, and also how people can get connected to you.
Yeah, so Harris Smart Homes, we do property management. We buy properties, off market, cash offers and whatnot. And then to reach out to me, the best way is to my email is benharris1998@outlook.com, or you can reach out to Harris Homes at harrissmarthomes.com.
I love it. Anything else that you would like to share with the Diverse Network audience?
No, I don't have anything else at the moment, but look forward to, working with the Diverse Network group and, growing from there.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to continue getting you more involved, and I know we'll stay connected in different ways, and excited just even for you to have maybe opportunities to mentor a couple folks that are within our network that are either looking to get their IT career started or looking to become a real estate investor. And so looking forward to seeing the growth of those relationships in the future.
Sweet.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Never forget to be you, to take risks, and don't be afraid to build something that you own. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you next time.